General Clark, this barrage of strikes seemed to take Iran by surprise, and we're getting more details this morning. The AP's reporting that Mossad, Israel's intelligence unit, was able to smuggle weapons into Iran ahead of these attacks that were then used to target its defenses from within. What does that tell you? What does the broader attack tell you about the level of sophistication within Israel's military?
Oh, it was extremely well done, and it's not over. The fact that they could get the drones in, that they could take out some of the retaliatory measures that Iran had, that they could take out remaining radars, air defense sites so that their aircraft could penetrate successfully. A very, very complex, very sophisticated operation. And I'm certain that the Israeli military understands that they've got to finish the job now. So it's not just a matter of knocking on the door of Natanz. You're going to have to go in there. You're going to have to take out everything. There are a lot of other sites, many of them underground, some located in positions where bombs and missiles can't get in there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Israeli teams in there on the ground in the coming days and weeks. And then you're left, Anna, with this question. So this is a regime that for 45 years has insisted that its entire purpose of existence was to destroy the people of Israel. So I think if you were on the Israeli side, you'd say, we've started this, we're going to finish this. And I think it's going to certainly an effort to end it with regime change and put a much more Western, more friendly, more compatible group of people in charge.
Wow, that is taking it to a whole new level. But we have heard Netanyahu imply that they're going to take this to some kind of logical conclusion. We don't know exactly what that is. You mentioned Natanz specifically. I want to let our viewers know that that is the location of Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility. General Clark, let me come back to you, because as you look at the U.S. response to all this right now, President Trump has posted this morning on social media, quote, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. And then he also posted that the U.S. makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. General, do you see a scenario here where the U.S. gets involved in this fight?
Well, first of all, I think you have to give the administration a lot of credit for moving the diplomacy forward. I'm sure the administration knew what Israel's plans were. And I know from discussions with people in the region that our forces are there, we're staged, we're ready to protect ourselves or do much more if necessary. So I think it's going to come out as a classic diplomatic military, which may reach a really successful conclusion. It's too early to say now. No one's mentioned Russia in this. Russia and Iran have a strategic relationship. Russia had earlier offered to take all of the enriched uranium out of Iran. Putin has played an important role in the Democratic administration's efforts in the 2015 agreement. Russia was critical in that. So we don't know where Russia stands on this as this goes forward, as more strikes continue, as pressure builds. We also haven't heard from the nations in the region. Are they concerned? A lot of airline traffic has been stopped. Straits of Hormuz, so far as we know, are still open. Oil shipments are continuing so far. So this is we're at the early stages of this in all probability now.
Iran's nuclear facilities being a big piece of this cure is, I think, concerning to so many of us. What type of safety concerns have arisen, given that at least one of their major nuclear facilities is now compromised? We know the International Atomic Energy Agency is monitoring the situation, right?
Yeah, it is. The UN watchdog, yeah, it is. And it does say so far there's no sign of increased radioactive levels. So that will be some reassurance. You don't necessarily, when you hit a nuclear site, cause a nuclear reaction, if you like. It doesn't necessarily, that's not necessarily one follows the other. You can understand why people would worry about that. But we have now Iran's president saying a message to his nation today that Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make Israel regret its foolish act. I mean, that's what has people really most worried. In this region, for example, where I am in the Gulf, many of these countries have shifted in recent years from a adversarial relationship with Iran to a diplomatic relationship with Iran. But still, though, just as example, Jordan, there were reports from Jordan that some of those Iranian drones were shot down, and that will raise concerns that Iran might respond against some of the U.S. partners in this region.
Aaron David Miller is back with us now. I think, Aaron, we have your audio fixed. Just weigh in your thoughts on these strikes and the state of play in the region now.
I mean, look, I think this happened as a consequence of the fact that Israelis believe, this prime minister, that there would never be a better opportunity than to do this. They demonstrated escalation dominance over their enemies, including the Iranians. That is the ability of the Israelis to control the pace, the focus, the intensity of military action, and prevent their adversaries from escalating. We still haven't seen an Iranian response. It took them weeks to respond, and now I think their efforts to coordinate are limited. The key factor, though, Anna, I think, is the reaction of an American president who may have had some doubts when he was briefed on this operation days before it happened, while still maintaining the fiction purposefully, I think, that there would be a round of negotiations this Sunday, which lulled the Iranians into a false sense of security. This president basically, when confronted with the possibility that this could blow up a negotiation, basically acquiesced and enabled the Israelis to mount this extraordinary campaign. And now, having succeeded, the operation beyond, I think, the president's wildest expectations, he's now riding the tiger. So I don't expect any negotiations. The president continues to say, and they're holding open the possibility that the Iranians will show up in Oman to negotiate. But look, in the end, and General Clark, I think, said it pretty well, they've invested $5 trillion in this nuclear program. It has become a symbol of national prestige and honor, and now it's going to become an element of national security, because when all is said and done, if this regime stays in power, I suspect it will, the Iranians will probably make a decision to go all out in an effort to weaponize. And the Americans and the Israelis are going to have to figure out over time how to deal with that.
So clearly, Aaron, you see it a little bit differently than General Clark does. And General Clark sees this leading to regime change in Iran, that is the logical conclusion of days and potentially weeks more conflict. Aaron, how do you see this resolving if it isn't regime change?
Well, look, this is a war between two countries that do not share contiguous borders. The amount of damage that Israel can do, even though great, is separated by 1,200 kilometers. And the amount of damage the Iranians can do to the Israelis is limited as well. If the Iranians choose just to respond against Israel, do not attack American bases in Iraq, do not go after Saudi oil installations or American forces in the Gulf. I mean, I know this sounds counterintuitive because everybody thinks we're on the verge of a major regional war. I don't see that happening. It may well be. You are going to have a war. It's going to continue for months as the Iranians plot, try to triangulate using asymmetrical power and terror to attack Israeli targets. But I suspect this regime, having survived since '79, will likely continue in power. And what you're going to have, I think, is now a forever war waged on any number of fronts, with the Iranians not having a whole lot of cards to play against an Israel backed by the United States. And I might add, the Americans deployed F-15s to Jordan in an effort to help intercept drones with special packages of interceptors. So at this National Security Council meeting, I'm sure the president is in order of priority. How do you protect Americans? How do you defend Israel? And how do you better integrate a regional response to whatever the Iranians may intend? So this is a very long movie. I rarely disagree with General Clark. I think the odds of regime change right now, I could be wrong. It could happen, and when it happens, it might happen very quickly. I'm not sure we're going to be faced with an Iranian regime that's any different than the one we see right now. If anything, it may become more militarized and more influenced by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps
Okay.
over the mullahs.